Hi, I'm Kristina Whitney with Handi Quilter's Quilt Your Desire Inspiration Squad. Last Christmas I decided that I had too many Christmas scraps laying around, so I wanted to use them up, and I designed this quilt behind me. It's a faux cathedral window quilt, and I did all of the piecing on my machine. I had lots of people ask me questions about it, and so I'm going to demonstrate today how to put it together. Okay, first of all, I'm going to show you the supplies that you'll need to make this quilt. I used 5-inch squares. These actually represent a member of the Inspiration Squad. Each person exchanged one. And then I also have one for our education department and for the marketing department because we had 13 squares, and that's a horrible number. And so I wanted to include them. Then I just took some graph paper, drew out my 5-inch square, and then I used my Handi Quilter. It's the ARC C2, and it was about the right size. So I just drew that on, and I used this as my template to cut out a bunch of white arcs. I also did some that I cut in half, and those will be around the edges, and then the full ones will go down the middle. So I've got my background squares, my white windows, or whatever you want to call them, and then we will also be using basting spray. So I have a couple of different kinds here that I've used that have been great. You will have some kind of an arc ruler if you choose. You don't have to use the arc ruler. I'll show you that later. And then I also used the Handi Quilter Continuous Curve map for doing the quilting. So we'll go over that a little bit later as well. To begin, I do a plumb line on the left-hand side so that I can line my blocks up, and then I go horizontally across the top as well. Then I use my basting spray and line up my first row of squares. And I continue putting the rest of the squares on that will fit in my throat space. Oops, I forgot to do my plumb line down the right-hand side. That will keep all of the squares in line throughout the entire process. Now that all my squares are in place, I'm going to baste on the white arc pieces using the basting spray again. And on the edges, I'm doing the half arc. Another option is to do a full arc along the edges, and we'll do that on the bottom so you can see the difference. The full arcs go horizontally and vertically in between each one of the squares, so all of the raw edges of the squares are now covered. I am so sorry to anybody that might be getting a little bit sick from watching this video with all the motion going on. We had to speed it up so that we could fit everything in. And I had my 11 and my 13-year-old daughters helping me video. So hopefully we learned something from this in addition to the quilting, and maybe next video will be a little bit smoother. Using the Handi Quilter arc ruler, I'm just going to go around each one of the arcs following the map of the continuous line. So starting from the left, going to the right, and I'm stitching probably about 1/4 of an inch approximately away from the edge of the white arcs. Then I'm going to go down one, and then I'm going to go all the way from right to left in a serpentine motion. That will help make the points line up a lot easier rather than doing all of them up and then all of them down. Now I'm going to switch and go back the opposite direction. Now this doesn't have to be super precise. I said within about 1/4 of an inch, but it's just kind of approximate. Whatever works for you is fine. Then we're going to go down one more row here. Now you'll want to make sure that you have enough throat space that you can get all the way to the bottom of your next row. Otherwise, we need to start doing the vertical sections. I had enough room on this one that I was able to go ahead and do one more full row. So still going left I'm going to go all the way over to the right hand side, go down, and this is going to be my bottom row. So I'm going to go over one, and then I'm going to do the serpentine going all the way up through all of the vertical sections, trying to find a center point where all of the lines are going to meet. So finding the center there, and then stitching through the next one, coming down to the bottom, and then going over from right to left again, and then just continuing up and down through each of the vertical sections. So I'm finishing up this last vertical row. I'm going to go across my last bottom horizontal, and then I'm going to go all the way up just along the edge on each one of these. And I apologize if anybody's getting motion sickness with the camera work and how fast the stitching's going. And then this is another option. You can go ahead and stitch or baste along the side to keep all of the edges in line. If you did the full arcs around the outside, then you can go ahead and baste those down all the way around the entire thing. And I did the straight line on this side, so just basting it to keep it in place. So here's what it looks like when it's finished. You got the raw edges, and depending on what kind of fabric you use, they'll fray up. This one I did with a flannel fabric, and it's been washed a few times so you can see the fraying. But I hope you enjoyed watching this video and that you are inspired to try something different. This is a fun project that you can do completely on your long arm, so no piecing is done in advance. So have fun with it.